Trey McKinney, Roddy Gale Jr., and Yaxel Lindeberg. We'll let them get seated, and then we'll get started with questions. Let's start here, second row on the left.
Chris Ballas with the Wolverine. Roddy, I think you said early on that when Trey first got here, he wasn't talking much, and you weren't even sure that he liked you. Does he like you now, and can you just talk about how he has developed both as a person and a player since he's gotten here?
I think he likes me. Just me and my relationship with Trey has definitely progressed over the year, and he's become one heck of a player, especially his maturity level throughout the year, and his ability to adapt in any situation, especially defensively, and being a more of a playmaker.
All right, question on the left, second row.
Tom Crawford, Fox 47, Press Pass Lansing. This topic is still staying with Trey. Since LJ got injured, you've had a combo job role, and you've really expanded your skill set. When you self-evaluate how you perform these last 6 games, can you kind of just gauge where Trey McKinney is in his game?
I think I've gotten a lot more comfortable playing point guard. I mean, Coach Dusty has done a really good job of just making sure I'm comfortable with the plays and, different concepts to get in during the game when I'm in that position. So I think I give all the credit to him and the staff. I mean, they've given me the opportunity to do this, and I think I'm at a point to where I'm very comfortable doing it.
All right, question far left.
Andy Seligman, AP. Just wondering if, the last time you were here, things obviously had a rough ending there. I'm wondering just how much that's lingering on your mind, and how does it feel to be back here so soon?
All right, Yaxel, why don't you take that?
Yeah, it definitely left a bad taste in our mouth. As soon as we walked in the locker room, they gave us the same one as last time. So, we had to try to switch something up, see if it'll give us a little more luck. But, yeah, we want to get out there and make sure that this time we don't leave with any losses or leave feeling like, we didn't handle business. So we're going to come in here with a better mindset and, do the best that we can to dominate.
All right, question far left.
This is Sean Windsor, Detroit Free Press. Yaxel, just following up with that. How did you switch it up? You take different lockers, put your bags in different directions, places.
Yeah, so we switched it up. We tried to switch the whole just vibe in the locker room in general. Everybody's sitting in different places, acting differently. We're just trying to change everything completely.
Okay, far left.
Carlos Menards, Detroit Free Press for Trey. Just as a freshman, your first taste of the NCAA tournament, you've obviously played in big venues, arenas, all that stuff, tough places, but how is it different for you encountering this the first time, the crowd, the craziness? How different is it, and how's your adjustment been to that higher stage?
Obviously the stakes are way higher at this level, and we're playing with a really talented team, so it's not like anyone on the team has to really do too much out of their role. And just being here with these guys, I built a really good relationship with these guys throughout the season, so it's much more than basketball when you're playing with them.
Yeah.
Okay, second row right.
Essen Gusson, USA Today. When you guys look at 6 Big Ten teams left in the tournament, Sweet 16, how prepared do you guys feel for this moment right now, having played in a conference that has so many teams remaining?
Roddy, why don't you take that question?
It's very important, especially I feel like we went through a gauntlet of a schedule this year, and playing against these guys throughout the course of the year, we beat up on each other, and I think that just makes us better. I think the Big Ten conference is, the best conference in the world. So just seeing the success, obviously we want everybody in the Big Ten to be successful, but just kind of seeing the success that the conference have had in the tournament is really good, and I think it speaks to how good we were in the season to be able to finish first.
Okay, question fourth row center.
Hi, Lane Higgins from the Wall Street Journal. Yaxel, this is for you. You had sort of an unusual path to Michigan based on how little organized basketball you played growing up. And, now that you're with a coach who is a total film junkie and rather a savant of the game, what are some of the biggest areas that he encouraged you to work on when you initially came to Michigan? And, if you reflect on the biggest areas of growth that you've had.
I would say my approach towards the game of basketball has gotten a lot better. Just being able to slow the game down as well. He's been telling me and teaching me a lot of reads that I didn't think were there. Early on in the year we would watch film, and he'll just help me, fix my reads, fix ways where I can be more impactful, even in a role where I'm not being as aggressive as a scorer anymore. And it definitely helped me out a lot. It definitely helped me mature more in the game of basketball. And honestly, I'm really grateful I was coached by him. And man, he's just like giving me a lot more like to play for and like more will to just go out there and try to be the best I can be, regardless of how it's going. And he's definitely helped me work on my like mental. When the things are going bad, I lean more on my teammates instead of beating myself up so much now.
Okay, question far left.
Yeah, Nicole Auerbach, NBC Sports. For Roddy and Yaxel, both, how would you describe what Dusty May what Dusty May's system on the basketball court looks like to someone who's never seen it? How would you describe what it means to be playing for him?
All right, Roddy, let's start with you.
It's pretty simple. Like, he's very positionless. I think like the kind of things we run and like the kind of way we play is like super free. I think it translates to the next level like as best as you possibly can do it, and just his ability to be able to create and find different things and just make something out of nothing. Like, honestly, whenever we mess up plays, honestly, he likes it. Like, he'd rather our offense be chaotic, but we also like are trying to play for each other as far as like not really trying to play like selfish basketball or like kind of by ourselves. He'd rather us like play for each other and run actions for each other.
All right, Yaxel.
On top of that, I would probably say he has like a pro type of style. He does a lot of free-flowing offense. He has certain sets, but the sets aren't necessarily for shots. It's just for movement, just to get the defense out of their shell and then attack off of those mistakes. So I mean, it's pretty free-flowing offense.
All right. Any additional questions here on the far left?
Thank you. Carlos Menardez, Detroit Free Press. For Yaxel, Dusty seems to have a connection with almost every coach you guys face. Really close with Schertz. History with Nate Owens. How much intel or how much insight do you think he gave you in the film study when you guys were looking at it? Did it seem familiar, or did you feel like he gave you a lot more insight on what their game plan might be?
I would say, honestly, it was more so, it's pretty much the same way we attacked the film session with St. Louis. Because of all the similarities in our game, it's pretty much like an easy cover. We just got to be physical. We got to play. We got to do things that we don't like that teams do to us, to them, pretty much, is what we're like pretty much learning and trying to imply. So, I mean, it pretty much was kind of an easy start.
All right, question fourth row left.
This is for Jax. JoeGoodmanAL.com. Yax, you were at UAB for a couple years. How did that time prepare you for this moment? I know you've been really complimentary of Dusty once you got to Michigan. And then also, I guess, as a former UAB Blazer, do you feel like anything differently playing against Alabama?
Once I entered the transfer portal out of UAB, I was hoping.
What's so funny?
I was hoping to get recruited by Alabama, and when I didn't, it kind of hurt me a little bit, not in a way where I can say like I hate them and all that. It's just it bothered me a little bit, but I was very proud of the moments that I had in Birmingham. I definitely learned to be more aggressive, get out of my shell a lot more, and then, in situations where like I feel like I need to step up in a way, I'm not afraid of those moments anymore, and that definitely happened because of how much pressure Coach Kennedy put on me and how much he wanted me to be an aggressive scorer. So I mean, those two things really helped me out. But I'm super excited to play Alabama, and just pretty much like a second home, I guess you can say.
All right, we have time for one more question for the student athletes. All right, we got a question here on the left.
Just Yax, that you can't get away from that smile. There's something behind that, obviously, but how much extra juice is this game going to have? Obviously, where you were dissed by Alabama in the recruiting process.
There's going to be a lot of extra juice for sure. I know I'm going to try my best to be the best player on the floor tomorrow, and if it's just all it is extra motivation, just not in a sense where I'm like, this is what you guys missed out on, but like, You guys could have at least called or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, something like that. But yeah, there's no bad blood. Like, you know, maybe I didn't fit the system or anything like that, but you know, I'm excited to see him.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll have head coach Dusty May up here shortly. All right, we're now joined by head coach Dusty May. Coach, if you'd like to start with an opening statement.
Yep. We're excited to be back in Chicago with a chance to compete and continue on with our season. It's an honor to compete against a program like Alabama and with the other two teams here. I'd like to open up for questions.
All right, we'll start here in the middle.
Hey, Dusty, Dan Wolken, Yahoo Sports. We don't have a lot of transparency into how much it really costs to put a team like the one you have together.
Yeah.
At a school like Michigan, and Alabama faces the same thing where football has to eat as well. How do you do it year after year, and is it sustainable at the rate it's going?
It's a great question. I mean, you hear year in, year out that this isn't sustainable, and then all reports point towards the numbers going up. And I think when you see the ratings and when you see all that's happening around our sport, I can only speak for men's basketball, it seems as though there's an influx of everything, of money, of attention, of new avenues to generate revenue. I can't see the cat going back in the bag, personally. Fortunately, we're at a brand where each school is in a different situation based on their alumni base, based on how marketable their athletes are, and the attention and spotlight on their program. And so fortunately, we have a lot of those things working in our advantage. They didn't just happen. It's almost like you say it at FAU, when these businesses or donors believe in a CEO and a vision and a leadership team, then they'll invest until it doesn't go well. And then it's time for a new CEO and a new staff to come in. So we're not naive to that. We have been very diligent from day one to make sure that anything we spent, we thought would be spent wisely, and anyone we brought in would be very useful.
Okay, question front left.
Dusty, Tony Garcia, Detroit Free Press. I just want to ask a little bit more about one of those guys who you did bring in that way, Adai Mara. Earlier this week, Mick Cronin said that you have to detach yourself from college basketball, what it used to be. I spent 2 years developing, and now you're going to leave. That's going to happen to you. It happened with Adai Mara. It's a business. Do you see just your thoughts on his development, him seeing you as a developmental programmer, how that played out?
Yeah, I want to credit every past coach for everyone on our roster, every teacher. They all have a hand in these guys' development. I will say that success has many fathers and failure's an orphan. So we're very proud of the progress that Adai continues to make. And like I said, I'd like to thank all of their past coaches for the work they've done up to this point. It takes a village and a team effort to help these guys be their best, but we choose to give our players majority of the credit for their development. We think we do a really good job of helping them, guiding and assisting them. But usually if a guy gets better, man, we usually try to give him 90 to 95% of it, and then we'll take a little bit of that percentage just because that's what we get paid to do.
Second row left.
Chris Ballas with the Wolverine. Dusty, you chose Michigan over some blue blood, so-called blue blood programs. What is it about Michigan that's on par or, in your opinion, higher even than some of these other programs?
I'll say from day one, first and foremost, my wife, she was always a big fan of Ann Arbor, the quality of life, everything that goes with the University of Michigan, and my family's always been a very important part of any decision that I've made, especially when you drag them around like I did chasing this dream. That's another reason why I don't get mad at these low major guys trying to move up to the mid major, because I was trying to do the same thing, and pride myself on not being hypocritical, but the opportunity to attract the best high achieving people that have a desire to be around the brightest students, the best professors, the alumni base who's connected. And I think Michigan's really unique. And I'll tell you what we say in recruiting, that we have what we feel is the academic profile of Stanford with the passion of SEC football for our athletic department as a whole. And usually those two things aren't merged. And so we're very proud that those two things are in great alignment at Michigan.
Second row.
Tom Crawford, Press Pass, Fox 47, Lansing. Dusty, I remember vividly after when you came back from Vegas with the big 3 wins in the tournament. And I asked you, despite your team playing really, really well, what keeps you awake at night? And you said, outside noise will keep me awake at night. How is the outside noise maintenance going right now on the brink of the Sweet 16, potentially Elite 8? And are players involved in laundering that outside noise as well?
I think our guys do a very good job of deciphering what's important and what's not. These guys, I would say 99% of them are on social media. They hear things. Heck, a couple of them asked me about a kid that was allegedly committed to us on Twitter from a fake account. And that just goes with it. And we don't, and if the kid was committed, we would tell them. If he's not, we try to be brutally honest with our guys. And never violate their trust and give them our vision. But it's never easy, but we're all battling the same thing. But I think overall we're in a very good spot mentally. I think our guys are focused on this game and the preparation that we need to have to be in position to win.
Okay, far left.
Sean Windsor, Detroit Free Press. Dusty, Axel said that when your team realized they were in the same locker, again, they wanted to change lockers, mixed up, and even sort of act differently, just to change the lock from a couple of weeks ago. I'm curious, did you know about this, and what kind of stock do you put in that part of these moments, just the psychology of that?
I don't put as much stock into this physical location as I do our mindset. I will say our trainer, Chris Williams, after one of the games in the Big Ten tournament, I don't remember if it was the game we got beat or the game to go into the championship. We were talking about the story of, I think it was Doc Rivers before their NBA championship with the Celtics. They were in the arena the year before, and everyone put $100 or $20 in a stack and put it in the ceiling tile and said, we'll be back for this in June or whatever the month was. So Chris had contemplating, I think he actually put something up there in the tiles, if I remember correctly. But I'm not a very superstitious guy. Actually, one of the pair of, and I'm not a very good dresser either, as all of you know, the covers. I had a really nice pair, my favorite pair of Jordans that I rarely wear because I don't want them to get scuffed, and I like them, and I'll wear them with suits. But I wore them for the Wisconsin game at home, and we lost. And I broke them out for one of our recent games. I thought, you know what, I'm going to prove once again that all this stuff is nonsense. And so I broke them out, and obviously we won with them. So I don't, personally, I don't look at any of that stuff. I don't have any superstitions. I mean, literally zero superstitions. It's get up and do the best you can that day.
Okay, question far left.
Carlos Menares, Detroit Free Press. Yaxel just told us that he's disappointed that Alabama didn't recruit him out of UAB. He said he might have some extra juice in this game. Is that a good thing, or can players get a little bit too high, too motivated? How do you channel that if he's going to have some extra juice?
I think we've had several subplots this year, and he seems to be performing well up to this point. So whatever irritates him, I'm gonna ride with that and support him. Nate and I, being friends, we talked through that process, and don't tell Yaks, but they did try to recruit him.
All right, we've got middle back.
Lane Higgins from the Wall Street Journal. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your philosophy of starting 3 very, very tall players. Now, you kind of pushed it in a different direction last year with your Twin Towers, I guess. But what made you, when you were building this team, want to run that kind of offense? And, why do you think it's been able to be so successful?
Well, this wasn't part of the original plan. The plan was to get 2 bigs to replace Danny and Vlad, and then Will Cheddar, Oscar Goodman, Malik Cordell. And then we were able to get Adai and Merez incredibly right off the bat. And I was perfectly content going into this year. I felt like we could compete to be at the level we're on with that group without Yaks. And maybe we could, maybe we couldn't. I mean, we'll never know. And then Yaks was going through that process, and we were open and honest with Adai and Rez both that, hey, this could happen. We don't know. Yaks is going to go through the process, but we're very confident that we can make it work. And here's our plan and what it could look like. So no, we thought this would be very, very difficult. And when they were all on campus this summer, there were several days when I thought to myself, there's a high probability this isn't going to work. And then if you watch us play the first couple games of the regular season, I think you would you probably agree that it wasn't working and it wasn't going the way it went in Vegas or the way it's went lately. So I give our guys a lot of credit. They've done a nice job of solving problems and putting the puzzle pieces together the right way and really respecting each other, appreciating each other's talents, and figuring out how they could be their best while also playing next to a guy that's really big and talented and because typically that's a recipe for disaster from a spacing standpoint. So I'm very proud of our guys for finding these solutions.
Third row left.
Coach, Anna Watson, Medill Reports. Coach Oates told us earlier that he called you early on in Yaxel's transfer portal situation. What did you both talk about that sort of put him off from really going after him?
Well, what's the last part of the question? What did I tell him to put him off?
Well, he said that he felt that he was late to the game, and that's why he didn't pursue as much as other schools had. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious what you both talked about.
Yes, we were extremely late to the game as well. When we actually made contact with Yaxel's mentor after their season ended, he said he's upset with you because you haven't called. After they I think it was the NIT, maybe the second or third round, he said Yaxel's actually, and I had spoken with Andy Kennedy prior to that and their staff, but he said Yaxel's actually disappointed in you that you haven't made contact and no one with Michigan has made contact. And I said, well, I've talked to AK. We're not disrupting anyone's season, no matter what rumors are out there. Usually we just call the head coach. But then he asked me why we were in so deep, and I told him that the person that Yaxel trusts the most is a guy that I coached coincidentally 20-some years ago, and he felt like this would be a great environment and we could help Yaxel with what he needed to improve on. Yaxel went through the process and tried diligently to get a first-round guarantee and couldn't get one, and then it made sense for him to come and try to improve and develop and be on this big stage.
Okay, we got front row.
James Madden, Zags blog. Coach, you obviously just faced Josh, and now you're facing Nate tomorrow. Would you say it's more challenging or easier coaching and going against a coach that you're very familiar with?
Both. It's more challenging because they're such elite ball coaches, but it's more fun because you're familiar. I mean, like I said, I go to Nate's basketball conference. I've known him for 20 years. I've probably watched his teams play 500 games total. If they're on TV and I'm not doing anything, I watch his teams play because I'm going to learn something. And we have mutual friends that send out these edits and clips and new ideas. And so I watch something and say, oh, wow, they took that concept from Barcelona and really made it their own, and they're executing it better than that team did. So it's a challenge, but I enjoy it because I know we're going to be better coaches because of this. I think he's one of the best coaches on the planet, regardless of league level affiliation, and so it's an honor to share the same sideline with a guy that does his job as well as Nate does.
All right, question far left.
Andy Seligman, AP. Along those lines, is it a bit surreal going up against the guy who you saw all those years ago when he was in high school, and now you're meeting in the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I think probably the thing that now that you say that is just a reminder that surreal was when he was a high school coach and I was assistant at Eastern Michigan. I was in his gym and I told him that I was going to come over to watch the Bulls training camp with Scott Skiles as a coach because I had a connection of mine was on the staff and got me access, and he said, can I go and I'll drive and whatever. And so we drove over and watched 3, 4, 5 days of the Chicago Bulls training camp, talk ball, spent every meal with Nate and Josh Baker, who's worked with Nate forever, that's now back in Michigan. So that's probably a surreal moment as a young 26-year-old third assistant in the MAC and a local high school coach who are now back in the same city, competing against each other on this stage is pretty surreal. But that's what makes this all so ironic. I don't know how it happened.
All right, fourth row left.
Nick Schultz for Down 3. Dusty, I'm curious, when you look at NIL's impact on college basketball, that's been pretty well documented. But I'm curious, over the last year with RevShare, how have you kind of seen that impact everything, whether it's from roster building or any other impact it has on the game?
I just follow football, to be honest. When they announced these numbers, I thought, wow, is everyone going to be under this cap? And then football spins 3 times. So I don't spend a lot of time thinking about I have my own opinions on where the game needs to go and why we failed our sport for so long as coaches and administrators to let it get to this point. because ultimately it's our fault. We've been making these decisions on such a obtuse level for so long that now it's blown up in our face, and so now we have a responsibility to fix it and to make sure it's equitable and fair for everyone. So I don't know. I've heard the numbers. I've heard from agents, and it doesn't seem as though the rev share number is any type of hard cap.
We have time for one more question.
Or
Second
soft
row,
cap.
right.
Coach Oates mentioned you guys talked last night. How hard was it not to talk about basketball at this time of the year with you two being basketball junkies you guys are?
It's not that difficult. We faced it last week with Coach Schertz. Look, if we lose, then I'm going to be watching and cheering for him because of our friendship and also the respect I have for what he's done for our game. I mean, he is a basketball junkie, a lifelong learner, and we'll talk 10 times this summer about ways we can do a drill better, we can share something that we've learned. And ultimately, that's what it's about, trying to be the best you can for your players, for the younger coaches, for the growth of our game. But no, now when we speak, it's about the other stuff. It's not about basketball. We're not trying to trick and con each other to gain an advantage.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.